You know, every country has these massive historical figures, the ones you learn about in school. But what if the story you were told is only half the picture? Today, we're cracking open a book that claims to tell the secret history of a true Danish icon.
So the book we're diving into is called Frederik by Ebbe Clevedal Reich, and he calls it a folkebog, a book for the people. The whole point is to take this revered historical figure, N.F.S. Grundtvig, and show him not as some statue in a park, but as a revolutionary whose fight is, believe it or not, still going on today.
And right there, that's the central puzzle Reich wants to unpack. I mean, how can one person be celebrated as this incredible visionary, a poet, even a prophet, and at the exact same time be written off by the people in power as completely unstable? That contradiction, that's the key to everything.
All right, so who is this guy we're talking about? Well, Nikolaj Frederik Severin Grundtvig was this towering figure in 19th century Denmark. He was a priest, a poet, a historian, a politician, the whole shebang. But his ideas were, for the time, pretty radical. He fought for education for everyone, not just the rich, creating these folk high schools. He wanted to build a Danish identity around a shared language and songs. He was, for sure, a founding father.
But that's not the whole story. Not by a long shot. Because his entire life, Grundtvig was under constant attack from the establishment. And their favorite weapon wasn't a better argument. No, it was a medical diagnosis.
And you can see the two sides of him laid out right here. On one side, Reich presents him as this political prophet, standing up for the common person against the powerful. But on the other, you have his critics, the priests, the professors, the psychiatrists, trying to slap this label on him, manic depressive psychosis. It was a clever way to try and turn his revolutionary ideas into nothing more than the ravings of a sick man.
And listen to this quote from the book. It just lays it all out there. The intellectual elite had to shut him down. They called him a false prophet. They called him insane because his ideas were a genuine threat to their position. So that word insane, it wasn't a medical opinion. It was a political weapon, plain and simple.
Okay, so this is where Reich's book really flips the script. He says that the thing Grundtvig's enemies called madness wasn't an illness at all. In fact, it was the very fuel for his entire life's work, a constant, raging war against boundaries. The core idea here comes down to this Danish phrase, skæl and grænse. It basically means shells and boundaries. And Reich's whole argument is that Grundtvig's life was one long campaign to smash these artificial walls, the walls that separated regular people from power, people from God, and even people from their own living culture.
And these were his targets, not individuals, really, but systems. The privileged elites who hoarded knowledge, the stuffy, dead academic language that made religion feel cold and distant, the priests who acted like they were the only gatekeepers to God. He was fighting anything that put a shell between a person and a real, vibrant, living experience.
So you might be wondering, how do you even fight a war against something as abstract as dead language? Well, you can't use swords or guns. You need a different kind of power. And for Grundtvig, his ultimate weapon was the living word.
Even the famous philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, who was around at the same time, called Grundtvig's method the living word's abracadabra. It sounds like magic, right? And in a way, it kind of was. Grundtvig truly believed that language, especially when it was spoken or sung together, had this incredible power to shatter those shells and connect people directly to their faith, to their history, and to each other.
And this, right here, this is what that living word actually looked like. This is a page from one of his hymns. Look at it. The language isn't complicated or academic. It's raw. It's emotional. It's powerful. It talks about a mother's pain, about a deep Christmas sorrow. This wasn't poetry to be picked apart by scholars. It was meant to be sung together by everyone, a shared, living thing.
So you see, Reich's book isn't just some old history lesson. It's really making an argument. It's a challenge to rethink not just this one man, but the kinds of stories we tell about our heroes, and, just as importantly, the powerful forces they were up against.
What Reich is really saying is that Grundtvig's war, it never actually ended. That struggle against the shells and boundaries that try to box us in, whether they're political or social or intellectual, that's a timeless fight. Understanding his story helps us see the exact same battles playing out today, just with different names and different faces.
Reich's mission was to take Grundtvig back from the academics and the elites and return him to the people as this powerful revolutionary figure. And that kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Who are the visionaries out there today who are being dismissed or sidelined or maybe even labeled crazy by the establishment? And whose stories do we need to reclaim for ourselves?